several days leading up to his farewell in the Vatican, something known to very few unfolded. The surrounding streets were quiet and serene, but within the apostolic palace walls, a different silence reigned, one that wasn't frightening, but deeply moving. His closest aides noticed that Francis spoke less, moved slower, and spent long minutes in prayer, gazing heavenward from his window, as if listening to something inaccessible to others. It seemed he already knew something, as if a silent dialogue was taking place between him and the divine. One Thursday morning, Francis quietly cancelled all his appointments. His only request was to bring him a group of orphan children he had met months prior. They arrived timidly, but the Pope, with his unfailingly simple and welcoming smile, knelt before them. Kneeling, he softly said, "Today, you pray for me." There were no speeches, no cameras, only gazes meeting and hearts understanding everything without words. Afterward, he withdrew. He was seen walking alone in the Vatican gardens at sunset. He stopped before a statue of St. Francis of Assisi, touched it with his hand, closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and remained in that position for exactly 7 minutes. One of the gardeners, observing from a distance, claimed to have seen a tear roll down his cheek, but it held no sadness. It was something else, something deeper, what the soul feels but cannot express in words. That evening, he requested not to be disturbed and remained alone with his writings, rereading letters, notes, and books that had accompanied him for decades. Among them was an old handwritten note containing a single phrase, "A true shepherd dies living among the sheep." That night, peace reigned in the Vatican, but a peculiar wind swept through the windows, as if the spiritual world bowed in silence. Francis's farewell was not a spectacle or a ceremony, it was silence. A silence that spoke everything, a silence whose echoes are still heard in the hearts of those who truly understood what transpired. One afternoon, the cardinals were called to a confidential meeting. They expected discussions on administrative matters, perhaps appointments, but no one could have predicted what they were about to witness. As soon as everyone gathered, Pope Francis entered in silence. In his hands, he carried something covered with a white cloth. He walked to the center of the room and before uttering a word, knelt before everyone. This gesture alone broke all formality. He then removed the cloth, revealing a simple basin of warm water and a towel. Yes, Francis washed the feet of the cardinals one by one, in silence, with trembling yet firm hands. He washed and wiped them, just as Christ did with his apostles. Some tried to stop him, embarrassed. Others stood frozen in indecision. But he insisted with a gaze that said, "This is what leadership is. This is what the church is." At that moment, tears streamed down cheeks. These were not tears of sadness, but of revelation, because everyone present realized something profound. Francis was not just a pope. He was a servant, a man who, holding the highest office in the church, chose to take the lowest position to remind them that true power lies in service. After this gesture, he finally spoke. His speech consisted of only 3 phrases. A leader is one who stoops down. Faith is one who gives. The church is one who washes feet. Nothing more. He rose, made the sign of the cross, and left the room. For long minutes, no one could utter a word. Some openly wept, others simply bowed their heads. Time seemed to stand still. The most astonishing thing is that this moment was never publicly disclosed. No videos, no photographs, no official statements. It was recounted only by those who witnessed it, like a modern parable living in the memory of those who understood that humility remains the most powerful language of heaven. Such was Francis. One morning in the Vatican, Pope Francis broke protocol, uttering a phrase that struck like a bolt from the blue. "Take care of the poor, otherwise the church will become just a museum." These words were not part of a prepared speech. They were delivered like an arrow during a private meeting with religious leaders. Many remained silent. Others tried to force an awkward smile. But the truth had already been spoken. Francis understood what was happening. He knew that in many parts of the world, the church was distancing itself from the people, while its cathedrals were becoming mere tourist postcards, opulent halls with empty pews. He wanted more than just masses and incense. He yearned for action. In the days that followed, without warning anyone, he left the Vatican, dressed in simple clothes, and walked the streets of Rome accompanied by one of his trusted priests. He visited shelters, spoke with the homeless, entered dilapidated homes, and listened to stories that no report could convey. Upon his return, he convened a group of cardinals and stated firmly, "I have visited the true altar, the altar of human destitution, and if we do not reach out now, we will lose not only the faithful, but the soul of faith itself." At this turning point in history, a fateful decision was made. Pope Francis began transforming parts of the Vatican into welcoming centers for the needy. He ordered the opening of Vatican chambers for volunteer doctors ready to provide medical assistance. Near St. Peter's Square, showers were organized for the homeless, allowing them to maintain personal hygiene. Most importantly, Francis insisted that every parish in the world open its doors, transforming from a showy display into a true refuge for the destitute. Many perceived this as a radical step, others considered it excessive, but the Pope remained unwavering. When asked if he feared tarnishing the Church's image by associating it with poverty, he replied with an unperturbed smile, "I prefer a church that is dirty from the streets, rather than a church that is clean from indifference." This progressive vision of Francis spread like wildfire among young priests and communities desperately in need of support. He awakened something dormant, a living compassion that had long remained in the shadows. For him, the church was not just an institution frozen in time, but a field hospital, a reliable refuge in the midst of a callous human desert. His warning echoes today: if we forget the poor, the church will become a museum with beautiful walls, but devoid of life. Few knew that Pope Francis's most intimate moment of the day was not a solemn liturgy or meetings with high-ranking cardinals. It happened at night, when the lights of the Vatican were dimming, and only silence accompanied his final thoughts. Every night, before going to sleep, Francis had a secret habit, a simple yet profoundly significant ritual. He didn't light candles or recite long prayers. He simply sat on his wooden chair in silence and, in the subdued light, asked God just one question: "What have I not yet understood today?" This was an unusual prayer, in which he asked for neither blessings nor protection, but only clarity, and he waited for an answer. Many who worked closely with him recounted that sometimes the Pope would spend over an hour in this state, immersed in complete silence with his eyes closed. Sometimes a smile would appear on his face, sometimes he would weep, but when he rose from the chair, his face would be transformed, as if he had been conversing with heaven. One such nocturnal episode was forever etched in the memory of his personal secretary. Francis had spent the entire day in a subdued state, learning about wars and injustices happening in various parts of the world. But that night, having completed his silent prayer, he opened his eyes and uttered a phrase his secretary would never forget. The pain of the world is great, but the love hidden within it is even greater. The next day, he altered the text of his public speech, beginning it with precisely these words. He explained that he had felt a presence during the night, as if God had whispered the answer directly into his heart. Since then, this moment became a kind of spiritual secret for Francis. He asserted that true understanding is born not in the bustle of decision-making, but in the silence of an open soul. Perhaps this is one of the main keys to his spiritual life. He did not fall asleep tormented by doubts, but fell asleep with questions. And that is why, for many, his decisions seem divinely inspired, from a realm beyond logic and politics, accessible only to those who know how to listen in silence. Today, his ritual inspires monks, priests, lay people, and even those far from faith. For deep down, each of us carries something that requires understanding. And perhaps the key to this understanding lies in asking God a question before sleep and allowing Him to answer in a dream. Somewhere far from the splendor of the Vatican lies a little-known secret about Pope Francis. This spiritual leader of billions of people does not consider himself separate or distant from humanity. On the contrary, he is convinced that his most important mission is to be part of a family, but not just any family, the one the world usually ignores. Francis's eyes light up whenever he speaks of the family of the poor, the sick, and the orphaned. He often repeats, "If you want to understand the Church, do not look at cathedrals and altars. Look at those who have nothing, but give everything." And he diligently follows this principle every day. In a gesture that shook the foundations of tradition, Francis performed an act unthinkable for a pope. He went to the slums of Rome not just to bless their inhabitants, but to sit with them, listen to their stories, and share a meal. He spent hours there conversing with residents, eating simple bread, and attending to life struggles that others preferred to overlook. One such day, a close friend asked him with concern, "Why are you doing this, Pope? You are the leader of the Catholic world. You don't have to be here. These people don't realize what you represent to the Church." Francis smiled and replied with a calm gaze, "I know who I am, but it is here, among the disadvantaged, that my heart finds its true family." After this visit, the story became public. It was not just a fleeting act of charity, but a personal commitment. Francis began to see himself as the father of these families, understanding that spiritual and material needs are inextricably linked. When a mother had no means to feed her children, the Pope came to her aid, organizing support networks. When someone fell ill and was alone, Francis was by their bedside offering prayers. He realized that the true mission of the Church was not to save souls in empty temples, but to transform the lives of those most in need of a touch of mercy and love. This man saw the disadvantaged families as his top priority and their members as his own children. That is why his role in history extended far beyond the papacy. He became a true father to the orphaned and a brother to those who lacked fraternal support. His love for these people was boundless, and he consistently, with simplicity and humility, used his high position to give them a chance at a better life. While the world admired Francis's grand decisions and deeds, he performed actions that escaped the attention of most. He redefined the concept of family. Pope Francis, by his example, taught that true greatness lies not in power or wealth, but in love for those the world prefers to ignore. And this family he chose to love until the end of his days. In the very heart of the Vatican, behind impregnable walls and golden gates, lies a quiet secret known to few, yet deeply reflecting the essence of Pope Francis's legacy. It's a unique symbol, hidden in his private chambers, a small detail that could easily go unnoticed, but carries profound meaning for his spiritual worldview. In the humble setting of his room, starkly contrasting with the splendor of his office, one item stands out, easily overlooked: a small wooden cross, simple and worn with time. However, a closer look reveals its intriguing feature. The cross is slightly tilted. It is not perfectly straight, as one might expect. This minor detail, almost imperceptible, holds a deep story crucial to understanding Pope Francis's personality. This cross symbolized not only Christ's martyrdom, but also the continuous struggle against global evil. Francis believed that Christ continues to die every day through injustice, wars, and hunger. The slight tilt of the cross represented the overthrow of power, a challenge to the established order, and a rejection of conventional norms. According to those close to him, Francis admitted that he intentionally placed the cross at an angle to remind himself daily of the need to change his perspective on the world. It was not enough to merely look at the cross. One needed to understand its meaning. The Pope sought to show the world that Christ's love manifests not only in churches, but also in the streets, among the destitute and forgotten. This small cross, with its barely noticeable tilt, became Francis's daily reminder that Christ's path is not a straight and easy road, but a path of transformation, deep and radical change. And this meaning was not lost on him alone. Some of his close associates who visited the Vatican noted with surprise how the Pope would fall into deep contemplation while sitting before this symbol. It seemed he was communicating directly with Christ's soul, seeking answers to spiritual questions unfathomable to the world. But what is truly striking is the impact of this small gesture. While the world expected to see the Pope as an imposing and unyielding figure, Francis demonstrated the importance of humility, reflection, and transformation. The tilted cross was not merely a symbol of suffering, it was a symbol of renewal and action. Pope Francis left us with something more than just words or deeds. He invited us to change our view of the world, urging us to look at suffering not with indifference, but with the courage to transform it into love. This is the true meaning of the symbol hidden in his room. Pope Francis's legacy will be defined not only by his speeches and actions as head of the Catholic Church. He sowed seeds that will sprout and bear fruit for many generations. And although his physical presence has passed into history, his call to love, humility, and service continues to resonate in every corner of the world, in every heart open to the true meaning of faith. Francis was never a leader who believed human greatness resided in position, title, or power. He consistently affirmed, a true leader is one who serves others, who places himself at the service of all without exception. And he followed this principle every day in a simple and clear manner. However, few know that Francis's legacy extends far beyond his earthly existence. He understood that a calling from God is not limited to our life on earth, that his mission would be fulfilled not only during his lifetime, but above all, through every person touched by his message of love, humility, and service. His goal was not to create an empire of power and wealth, but to leave a living testimony that would be passed down from generation to generation. In his later years, he withdrew from lavish ceremonies, preferring solitude to listen and learn from the simplest and most marginalized. He did not want to be perceived as an unattainable figure. He sought to be a brother. He knew that his work had to be done with others, and that the true legacy would be the transformation of hearts, not the construction of buildings. In one of the most poignant moments of his last audience, Francis stated, "The legacy we leave is not in the things we build, nor in the riches we accumulate. It is in what we do for others, in the love we offer, expecting nothing in return." These simple yet profound words transcended borders and resonated in hearts worldwide. Many believed that Francis's departure from the earthly plane would mark the end of his life's mission. However, contrary to expectations, his spiritual impulse not only did not fade, but found a new birth in the hearts of those who embraced his teachings and put them into practice. The legacy he left behind transcends material values, representing a profound spiritual experience. He urged people to see the image of Christ in every person, to help the needy, and to live with sincere faith, free from hypocrisy. Francis was not just a spiritual leader, but a living embodiment of how one can live a life filled with meaning, self-sacrifice, and unwavering faith. The charitable initiatives he established continue to thrive through the efforts of thousands of volunteers and organizations inspired by his example. Small acts of kindness and humility, simple gestures of love, spread like waves throughout the world, strengthening the bonds of solidarity. This is why Pope Francis's legacy is timeless. His call, his life's path, continues to live on in every heart striving for good, in every compassionate gaze, and in every willingness to help. Even after his passing, the world continues to hear his voice, calling for the changes each of us wishes to see in the world around us. This is the immortal legacy he left to humanity. Often, people spend their lives searching for profound meaning, a purpose to fill their existence. We constantly strive for something more, something capable of breaking us out of routine and touching the deepest parts of our soul. What if that something more is already speaking to you right now? Imagine yourself in Pope Francis's shoes. He did not seek power, fame, or wealth. His goal was something simpler, yet transformative. A clear call, a high purpose that transcended any personal ambitions. He answered that call, and in doing so, changed the destinies of millions of people worldwide. And the question arises, what if this call was addressed not only to him, but to you as well? In today's world, full of distractions such as career, material possessions, and social status, it is easy to get lost in the pursuit of something elusive. But amidst this hustle, there is a silence that can be heard only by pausing and reflecting on your true mission. Pope Francis, with humility and wisdom, never allowed worldly temptations to sway him from his path. He understood that true happiness does not require wealth or fame, but a purpose that transcends personal interests. By following this call, he courageously changed the course of history. Now, imagine this call is also directed at you. Do you hear the call to serve others, to live a simpler and more authentic life? A call to a purpose that transcends everyday concerns. Are you ready to answer that call? Francis taught that to find the true purpose of life, one must look beyond oneself, abandon material values, and draw closer to the spiritual essence. It is then, in his view, that one can find true happiness and peace. What happens when we answer this call? When we choose a life filled with authenticity and simplicity? When we stop searching in the external world and turn to our inner self? By answering the call to serve others, we find ourselves, our true calling, and our mission in this world. Along with this comes a sense of completeness and satisfaction that cannot be found anywhere else. Pope Francis's legacy lies not only in his words, but also in the example he set. He answered a call from above and transformed his life and the lives of many others. Are you ready to answer your call, the call to a more authentic, meaningful, and harmonious life? Perhaps you are asking yourself, how can I do this? How can I hear this call? The answer is simple. Start with silence. Take time to reflect on what truly matters and brings you peace. Begin to act with compassion and humility, and you will see how your life begins to change.